Well, anyway, the discussion, that we have is, where are we headed? And, everybody's written their own destination prior to even showing up here. There's an awful lot of discussion about, going on to a new Earth. There's a discussion about going to your home planet. A lot of discussion going back into the void. Uh, I don't think uh, there's any type of block, that's been mentioned before, as far as, when you leave your incarnation in this lifetime and you go on to, uh, whatever comes next. Uh, I don't think you will be blocked from returning to wherever it was that you were previous to this incarnation. I don't go along with that. I think that falls in with a lot of this uh, religious indoctrination or theology, given to man by man. The truth lies within, and the distraction will keep you from that every day if you allowed it. Heard a great saying, if you don't occupy your consciousness, it will be occupied for you. And that's a very poignant statement. I'm sure you can elaborate on that statement.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what their big message at the moment has been: control your mind, control your reactions and emotions, and be really focused with what's going on. Because a lot of people feel so disempowered to think for themselves, feel for themselves, and move forward. What we the information about the Sasquatch that we were just talking about before we started recording. I have had a session where a client was wondering if they were real, and the subconscious said, yeah, absolutely, they're real. And they can flit in and out between 3 and 5D or 4D or whatever realm they hang out on
Oh,
here.
I agree. They're a multi-dimensional being, and they've been here for a very long time, long before any type of, written history from this planet. They go way back. I mean, to the origins of this planet.
And the cone heads that they kind of seem to display, is that Anunnaki styled shaped heads? I'm not too sure of who looks like what.
Uh, they have the Sasquatch do have somewhat of a little crown to their head. And, from some of that quote unquote Egyptian wall paintings, you see these people with the peaked heads, but, it's covered with hair or some kind of ornament. You rarely see, a bald headed cone head type person, like what's been put in the Hollywood movies.
Yeah,
It's typical that, anything that could possibly be a past human or someone of our lineage from this planet, would be put down upon naturally by, the powers that be. They don't want any of this information out. And for me, a smoking gun is just before the invention of photography. You had a lot of people in that artwork from the 16s and 1700s with stovetop hats or top hats, tall hats, and that's got to be one of the most ridiculous hats to wear for people with our type of heads. I mean, look at the trouble the London bobbies have when they're marching around Buckingham Palace in a strong wind to keep that thing, from floating away. So, my point is with these top hats, I think people, there were cone heads here up until the 1700s, and the top hats are the smoking gun, the poker tell on that. Why would you wear a tall hat that blows over in the wind?
so
You know,
never
you
thought about
know.
that before. And what about the what was I going to say? Shoot, it completely got taken out of my mind. That's so ridiculous. Sorry.
Well,
The Sasquatches being um, able to jump into different dimensions. Why do you think we can't?
well, I think, again, we're the trough of humanity right now. I mean, we're divine badass out there, and down here we're in these little monkey suits,
Mm.
with a mind wipe, and we're getting dog kicked to the curb every day. And I think we have to have a complete uh, caveman type of existence, to keep us dumbed down. The Fred Flintstone type of mentality is the way they want to keep us, or people will get lit up. I think we're already starting to get lit up, as far as just the general populace going, hey, something's not right here. They don't know what's not right, but they know it ain't like grandpa's day, that's for sure.
It's so overwhelming to realize that everything is not right, that there are so many controlled illusions for us to experience with being manipulated in everything. So how can one person who doesn't connect spiritually, who just tries to work out what's the truth with books, with TV, with media, I mean, how do you find yourself out of that maze?
Well, what makes sense to me is uh, people will come in to these incarnations, with their soul journey, and I think they just want to have a really bad case of cognitive dissonance to see how much it'll take for them to snap out. Because I really don't think there's very many snowflakes on this planet right now. I think uh, the controlling darkness is just full steam ahead to keep the people from waking up. They're throwing everything at us right now. I think the pots, the pans, the silverware, the cups, glasses, plates, everything.
Do you
They
feel like the darkness is still in control? Is that what you'd call it, the darkness?
I look at it more as like a black mold stickiness. It's just an infestation of a dirty, nasty, sticky energy that you can't shake. It's like going into the bush there and in the back country, or out here in the Mojave Desert, and getting all stuck with cactus thorns. You get full of burrs and all that stuff, and you just can't shake that stuff. You just pretty much have to you know go within and put as much of that outside nonsense out of your life as you can. And even myself, living here in a community of 50,000 people in the middle of nowhere, it's pervasive. I mean, I'm only 90 miles from Sin City, and there's a lot of darkness there, and they were talking about that today too on that program I was listening to, about all the evil that's gone on under the Washington, D.C. complex there, the tunnel systems and all the atrocities. That just adds to the darkness and the stickiness of the tragedy that we're all having to muck through right now.
How does it make you feel, knowing all of that's been happening? Does it bring you down, or can you settle with it being a purpose and reasons for it to help humanity waken up?
I, from times, I can only take so much as far as listening, to some of these, they're just little drive-by stories too. I mean, this stuff's not in depth yet, and just the little bit of information that I've looked at and seen some of the pictures, it creeps you out to see humans in cages. It's like, it just, I don't know, maybe it brings up past life memories or something of being incarcerated. This this whole thing of human bondage is just it shakes me to my core, really. I mean, I trudge through it every day and continue to research and talk with people such as yourself about it.
Mm,
Hopefully, we're bringing a little more light to the surface, by being able to handle all of this. I
mm.
mean, but I never expected any of this, and I always considered myself to be somewhat, inside the loop as to what those assholes are doing now. That's my first question. That's what my question was last March. It's like, what are these assholes up to now, a year ago? Well, now we know what these assholes have been up to.
Absolutely. And so when you are researching through and finding out this information, you can only cope with it for a bit because it's so overwhelming. Um, when we learned that it's all purposeful, that every being who is signed up for a role, even those horrific ones where they don't have long lives and that they are, I mean, horrific. I don't want to go into details, but when we learned in sessions that they were wanting those lifetimes to be able to help awaken humanity to what's really going on. Did that help you put things into perspective, or are you still mourning those lives?
I no, I firmly believe those people that chose that was for soul growth. Even with the atrocities, I know I don't think I would uh, do very well in a situation like that. I don't know if my soul growth has reached that point to have to go through those atrocities. Those people are extremely badass as far as their soul growth would be concerned.
Well,
I mean, if you want to take it to a crucifixion type of level, you've heard about that. Back in the day, that some of those fanatical religious groups, would do uh, self mutilation to advance their spiritual awareness and things like that. That, I mean, this is a free will planet, so have at it if that's what you need to do, but that's not my thing.
well, it does seem like we've been told to the path of nirvana is through suffering, and we have to like evolve our perspective of the suffering to be acceptant of all and understand it's our choice to feel like we're the victim or learn from it. But it's very challenging. Like I feel like the original experiences that people wanted to come here on earth to experience and explore, well, they've sort of mentioned it as like a weekend holiday kind of thing for that being. But now it seems like it's there's not much difference between the children that are in the cages versus us, really, in terms of they have shorter lives and suffering, with a terrible ending, whereas we're here much longer, experiencing much more, being marinated in the 3D much deeper. I mean, there's not that much difference. It's all growth and purposeful, but it's very crazy at the same time.
I what really amazes me is how this whole planet is going to react when mainstream media is taken down and the quote unquote the broadcast comes out. I mean, how do you sugarcoat baby eating vampires? That's like jumbo shrimp. It doesn't, it's oil and water. You don't sugarcoat baby eating vampires.
It feels like humanity just isn't ever going to be ready for it. It seems like humanity is still too juvenile to cope with the bigger stuff. In a very, very broad sense. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but it seems like when we're looking at it from a bigger perspective, when they are looking at it from a bigger perspective, we need to see the election being rigged and stolen and then see that all slowly play out. It's like the most slowest play ever going on for, I hate using this analogy, but it does seem amusing to them because they keep using it. we're waiting for the slow kids in the back of the classroom to catch up and see it all slowly unfold. Because once you see how the election was rigged, then you might be open to seeing everything out, everything else. It's, you know, the whole crimes against humanity, all of that stuff is, I mean, at this rate, that's like 20 years away. It feels like people are.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funeral procession speed right now, and they're doing it for that reason too, to lull everybody into a false sense of security. And then they're going to slam the damn door on us and get us all worked up. My only big deal on that are the first responders, you know, the police, the fire, and the EMS guys and gals, you know, and I hope the military knows what the fuck they're doing, because, you know, I know mainstream media won't be reporting on it, but citizen journalism is still out there, you know, like that one guy that taped all those buses there in Washington, D.C. on that Monday night, or Sunday night, Monday morning, when they dragged all those hundreds of kids out from underneath the tunnels in the White House. And then they put a bunch of, you know, people on buses and hauled them off to jail or whatever they did. So, you know, that all that stuff's got to come out. And
I'm a bit confused because how come that those rescue missions for the children, how come that didn't happen prior to, you know, before now? I mean,
well, I think it's been going on for a year. I think the militaries of the world, I mean, they've had a serious problem down there where you were. I heard, and I don't know how accurate this is, but there was two tunnels that encircled the continent of Australia, one on top of one another, for this whole trafficking thing. Can you imagine the size of that? You know, that's 10,000 miles per tunnel.
I did know that I think it was Melbourne was a really big hotspot. They were very concerned about the what was underneath some of those tunnels, and a lot of like psychic people and a lot of intuitive people were getting massive disasters happening in Melbourne after everything went to custard. And it was came out in sessions as well, and we were only like 2 weeks away from a massive disaster happening where it was going to wipe out a lot of public, and thank goodness they diverted that. But it's kind of scary doing these sessions and hearing about some really full-on events that are going to take place for it to, you know, thank goodness, be resolved. But and we ask in sessions why, you know, you told us about, you know, Melbourne, what happened, and then they can tell us exactly what happened and how it was resolved. I mean, it's gruesomely. We're so, you know, close. I feel like the military must know a lot. I feel like when we were talking to Saint Germain, the beings and the types of beings that Saint Germain is, who is, you know, a long living being here who has to change their identities somewhat and their lifestyles somewhat to have many multiple lifetimes here. It seems like a few of Saint Germain's, I can't remember what they called, wises. You know,
Well, they're sages, aren't they? Incarnated sages. There's like 5 or 6 of them.
well, they referred to Saint Germain referred to them as wises, and that a few of them are part of the top military. So I'm assuming that they had to somehow start from the scratch and have clean records and, you know, valid. I don't know how they work through it to get to the places that they are, but it's a life mission
Oh,
to
yeah.
get to the higher rankings. It seemed like when I had connected in with Saint Germain, it's like there are some top military personnel that are aware of Saint Germain and a few of his co-workers who are doing this, and they are giving them the bigger information from time to time so they can know what's happening. I mean, they're Palladians, so it's like there's so much to this puzzle of trying to process everything, not get triggered emotionally, not get overwhelmed with how everything is looking, and still have hope that we're not. I mean, what are your thoughts on us being in a trapped planet. I've heard this recently about a false light when you die, that we were supposed to avoid seeing the tunnel and not following the light. And I've asked.
That's what I spoke of a few minutes ago about that returning to source. I don't go along with that false light or being, maybe prior to the last, say back to 2012, this may have been a prison planet, but
Well,
I
when I
I
asked
don't.
about it in a session, they sort of said that we are trapped, but not in like, as soon as we die and the cords cut from our physical and we can be, that, I don't know, ghost. I don't know why I want to call them ghosts. It's probably the most offensive thing for them to be called, but that spirit ghost, they, they can go to source back if they want to do. They can be here to sort of support and comfort. There's a lot of things you can do as being a ghost. I won't call them ghosts. So but there was this one woman I was just connecting to, and she was sort of saying that her interpretation of being trapped and that false light was oh, it's so much. God, I feel like my brain's still fried right now. Sorry. The imprisonment actually is really reflecting back on how controlled and manipulated we are on this planet as we live. And so when we die, we have full freedom to go wherever we want. We're not trapped in that area. But it's in so many sessions I've had, they refer to this netting over humanity being diffused and removed now, which is not to say that now we can finally, our souls can go back home. It's more like the control systems are starting to crumble and break down. And so we are able to see for ourselves everything that needs to happen to awaken us, so we can recall back why we're here and really be connected more in a spiritual way and not be distracted with our 3D roles that we're playing.
Yeah, I agree with what that woman experienced. I would agree with that a lot. The energies have changed, and I don't think this is such a rough gig as it used to be. And Joanne, can I excuse myself for just a moment? I need to use the restroom.
Absolutely. Okay, so welcome back. So the entrapment.
Yeah.
Do you think that was like a new age distraction? I feel like there's quite a lot of older information that looked and sounded really spiritual, but actually wasn't.
Yeah, I think it all leads back to the Jesuits just trying to be controlling. They were in charge of everybody's soul for how many thousands of years here. So, yeah, I think, being that it's a free will planet, and you've got the free will to get the F out of Dodge if you want to. Why come back?
Well, I think people seem to, you experience life, you get emotionally connected to your friends and family, you pass on, then you see how trapped they are and how they are not able to connect with their spirituality because they're so stuck in their 3D lives, that I think that you have compassion for those people. So I think you linger here longer as a, in quotation marks, ghost, to help support and nudge and be the guides and be those sort of little angels, if you will. Look at me with all my professional terminologies now. I might as well just start calling them Casper the Ghost and little.
That's all right. The license plate on my car is Ghost Wagon.
Really? Why?
Yes. Yeah, 7 letters. It's we have a car club, and where I live, there's an old ghost town up in the mountains. So we have ghost stories here. We got buried treasure. We got all kinds of crazy stuff going on here in the desert.
Tell me what you were saying to me last time about, was there a group of people that did all
Oh, yeah. The blueskins.
Tell me all about that.
Yeah, when I've recently retired from my uh, wage slave job after 40 years in the workforce. I uh, was a merchandiser for a large company, Pepsi, you know, the beverage company and the food company. So I went into a lot of different stores, and for the last few months before I retired, they had me going out to the stores out in the Grand Canyon. There's a couple of grocery stores out there. People actually do live out there. In fact, I'm in the process of looking for a lot to buy out there if I can find one at the right price to move in the next few years. I have no plans now. I'm happy where I'm at, but it'd be a nice little vacation spot. But anyway, um, going out to these stores to merchandise them, the regular customers come in, and your routine is pretty much the same time every week. And I got to know a couple of these people that were of a different skin color, and I don't, want to talk in a racist vernacular here. That's not my point. These people um, really didn't have a skin color that I'd ever seen before. It's kind of a bluish gray color, and they're very healthy looking people. They're slender. They had very light eyes, both about the same color, was kind of a medium bluish gray color almost, and very soft spoken. And I've seen these people over, oh gosh, it's been 10 years now that I've first laid eyes on the one man, and the woman, I have not seen her in a while. I've seen the man. Uh, but it just dawned on me that I've seen these people for this long a time and they've not aged. And I know I've aged a lot in the last 10 years, especially living out here, in the Mojave Desert near the Grand Canyon. Uh, we get a lot of UV sunlight out here, and it's hard on everything. And they're very unique people. These blueskins, they're very stick to themselves. They live in a white stealth van, a blue Ford or a white Ford Econoline van. Uh, they move around in the desert. Um, Supposedly, the actual the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind was a representation of a true story. Supposedly, that interaction at the end of the movie, uh, where there was an exchange of beings, supposedly happened out here by the Grand Canyon. I know the dry lake bed it happened on. So it's possible these people could be, from that planet that the exchange came from. And that goes back to that book uh, about the planet Serpo. And this happened back in the 1960s. There was also a landing out here in the desert in the 1950s. And I talked to a lady, this was some time ago back. Uh, I was still in my 40s then, and this woman was in her 90s. She went to grade school out here, so I can tell you how long she's lived here. But she remembers when after World War II in the early 50s, when there was a heavy military presence out here. And so it may all tie in, that we may have some people that are not from this planet living out here in the desert. That's about the extent of what I know. They're very nice people, but they sure don't look like they're from this side of the galaxy.
Mm.
So
And how
kind of
many?
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. How many would you say there would be?
Well, I've met two of them. I don't know. As a matter of fact, I do know of a child that the man, I did see him with a child in there about Oh, the child was probably 4, 5, 6 years old, I think. Looked just like him too. I mean,
Hmm.
it was, you knew it was his kid. He didn't quite have the heavy blue skin like his father. He was more of a human colored, Caucasian type skin color, but you could see he had the tint to the skin as well. You
Um,
know, he,
One of Dolores Cannon's books, I think it was The Custodians, or it could have been The Legacy of Star Crash, both phenomenal, fantastic books. If you ever got a hold of one of her books, usually she shares the best, juicy stuff at the end. She just does it. I guess it's just like every session. You hear past lives information, but as soon as you start talking to the subconscious, boy, that's when you get the real amazing content. And there was, I know Star Crash, one of the big generational ships did. Was it a generational one? I can't remember. A ship did crash. There was 5 of them. They were going to look to be able to find a suitable planet for them to be able to inhabit. And one of the ships was having a malfunction, and so they went and they crashed somewhere above. It was near Alaska, close there, but because it was so long ago, the environment was quite different, and so it wasn't as snowy. And so the man who she was experiencing the life with, he was a hunter in this valley. They thought they were the only ones that were alive on Earth. This his tribe, and it was so interesting because she was regressing her client, and they were exploring this hunter's life, and because he had to travel far to get meat to bring it back to be his hunter role. He did see other beings that were human, but very different in their evolution. But he also knew on the other side that there was this craft, and so interesting, the story. You must, I mean, I can't recommend it enough. It's a fantastic story. But what was said about it was that the beings who had crashed, they had to climatize to the sun because they were never used to such bright source of light, and get used to climbing themselves. They eventually did start interbreeding with other human beings, shall we say, that were here, and some of the genetics is still traceable. One of their features was blue hair, I think. There's so much in the stories. It's always fantastic.
yeah, yeah. That well, in bringing all this up, and that you brought up another point, Joe, about habitability, and I believe that's one of the reasons why there's only one species of human left here currently. If you reference those uh, paintings in the Egyptian uh, walls of either the tombs or the pyramids, whatever structures over there, you know, they show these large beings with us sitting on their laps like kids or pets. I mean, that's common knowledge. And I think one of the reasons that these beings aren't here anymore and that the reptilians have had their way with us is mainly because the density was either too great or or just not right for the habitability. It was becoming, this planet has become too dense for other beings like these larger beings, and I would imagine it has to do with pumping blood to their brain from the heart. The bigger you are, the harder it is because of the density of the gravity. you know
I have a feeling though that didn't the reptilians come here first? And so when it was this paradise land planet where people could come and experience stuff, I think the reptilians wanted to use this planet as one of their, wanted to flourish and create, have their own way with it. And there was so much other beings that also came. I think it was a free for all land grab, and a lot
Yeah.
of beings did do it. And some beings came and seeded the planet with their project, which was part of humanity's. Like I think it was, yeah. And there's so much evolution is basically. Um,
And you got 60 foot of beach sand covering the whole surface everywhere. I mean, I got seashells, 10 miles west of me in the valley next door, with beach sand. And I'm 300 miles from the ocean in
yeah,
two directions, the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of California and the Pacific Ocean.
I,
So
it's the
you
magnetic
know
flex, isn't it?
all all these civilizations are covered over with 60 feet of sand, so we're never going to find nothing on this planet that's going to give us any idea as to how things really were. I think what we are is the janitorial crew, all 7 billion of us. We're just here with mops and buckets and get to work, tax donkey. you know
Yeah. It's so interesting to find out the history of humanity and this planet. That's why I find these sessions so incredible, because you get a glimpse into sort of the truth that has been, yeah, covered over with sand, shall we say.
yeah, it
It's
has.
reminded me of the what I forgot that totally slipped my mind before was you talking about the artwork and me wanting to remind, I will say about the unicorns and the 16th century. Is it 16th century? Oh God, I can't remember now. It must be the 16th century. It's not the 6th. No, it must be the 16th century tapestries of unicorns, and it was talking about how the unicorns were being shifted to a new dimension because they're going to start being misused. And they'd been amongst humans for a long time, helping. We've had so many magical things that we are now led to believe it's the, cartoons or.
Yeah, mythological. Yeah, nothing to see here. Move along.
Well, one of Dolores Cannon's books was referring to the not Loch Ness monster. They they are real apparently, and that they use portals, and they really are an Agatha, which is the inner earth. So, what do you think about? Let's just, I mean, because we're having obviously a conscious mind conversation. What do you think about the Earth's shape? What tickles your fancy when you think about that?
Well, a few years back, I went in and read all Admiral Byrd's diary. I went into the Library of Congress and was able to get the full diary. And I have seen there's one video, I know where to find it on YouTube, of the portals that, will allow you to go into inner Earth. I've seen the one for the North Pole. I've not seen anything from Antarctica, but I've read about, that all the what goes on down there. I believe that we're on a sphere in a plane of existence. So, that kind of covers the flat earth people and the globe earth people, because I try to see it to where everybody's right.
Yeah.
Instead of everybody fighting amongst themselves saying, you're wrong, I'm right, game on, here we go. No, it's everybody's right. If you want to be a flat earther and you firmly believe you're on a game board and this is a game of Monopoly, great. I'm happy for you.
Well,
At least
that's the
you
best
know,
position, isn't it? To be the best mindset is inclusivity of everyone's thoughts and feelings and belief systems, and not be threatened to have a conversation with someone else who, firmly wants to believe in something else. It's none of our business what other people think and feel. We are just humans that we need to support and love each other and accept, where we're at, and it should be universal, right? Isn't that what we teach our children, is to, listen to each other and accept each other and not steal toys?
well, exactly. And just to finish up the Earth thing, I believe I can prove the point about an Earth as a sphere because of light pillars. You get light pillars from all portions of the planet, and that's uh, when the planet gets hit with a lot of energy, you get the aurora borealis, up in Sweden and Norway and those areas with the northern lights. I don't know what you guys get down at the South Pole, but you might get something down there. But in the middle of the planet, rather than getting the aurora borealis, we get light pillars, and you can see them on cold, snowy nights up in places like Finland or Minnesota. When the air is really dry, these shafts of rainbow-colored light comes out of the ground, and they're light pillars, and they're on YouTube, and this is everywhere. So it's a globe, and the inside of it is a tetragrammaton. That's I think it's 24-sided crystal, basically, is what it is. And that's what powers this planet, or its heartbeat. We're all carbon based. I mean, there's no two sets of rules here. Everything's carbon based, in the third density. It has to be, or it wouldn't be here. It's crystal. Everything's crystal, and there's carbon based crystal and there's crystal based crystal, depending on vibration. So, that's the only thing that I know how to believe is particle physics. And I'm no letter math genius kind of guy either. I'm just a basic guy, but I get the concept. So that's just kind of where I'm at.
Fantastic. And in terms of your feelings for the new Earth, what does that look and feel like for you?
Well, it's a higher resonance. I mean, I think these bliss out moments that I get when I'm, just going about my daily business, I'm in a good mood, hooray for me, just doing my thing. And then all of a sudden, I just get these, get whisked off to your feet with this, oh, God, that felt good. It's like, smoke after sex kind of feeling, only better, you know?
So
It's it,
that's your
it's a weird, bliss out moment, and I think that's just skirting that veil. When you get these bliss out moments like that, you're skirting that veil to the next level of density. You know.
5D for you is post-orgasmic experiences. Well, that's fantastic. I think everyone wants to jump onto that bandwagon.
Yeah, I think just by good acts and going about your daily business and not getting caught up in all the nonsense, I think people should be able to experience bliss out moments. If they're not all climbed inside their television set all day and all night. People got to turn that stuff off.
What do you
Or
think?
they're
Yeah,
not going to grow. You
yeah.
know, I
Well,
mean, everybody has their way of doing things, and that's like there's two things that are taboo in my life pretty much. One's alcohol and the other one's television. I turn TV on when I want to watch something on sports or maybe a car auction or these guys are building a car I want to see or something like that. But otherwise, I don't want to know about what's going on with those people because they're not right in the head, you know.
yeah. And in terms of what do you think is going to be happening for humanity in the next few weeks and months, how do you think people are going to deal with? I mean, do you think there's going to be a financial reset?
Um, Yeah, but people are not going to be just lathered in all kinds of money because people are poor for a reason. They're poor because they don't know how to handle their money or they would die if they had too much, you know. So there's going to be a lot of rehab coming. That's all I know. I mean, before all the money and all the good times and all the parties and, having your Jetsons bubble to float around the cosmos in, there's going to be some serious rehab coming. So,
But how is that going to help humanity if everyone suddenly gets these riches? And I mean, I'm still stuck at that belief system because I feel, oh, I don't know if it's a belief system, but I feel like once everyone gets all this money and there is a financial reset, because of our immaturity and our addiction to money and materialism, that's going to take us back a massive step. And we're going to devolve, aren't we?
well, no, if the only way I can explain that would be a complete psychic change as far as the 100th monkey. You've read the 100th monkey
Mhm.
story, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you understand, how that all works, the 100th monkey.
Yep.
So uh, I believe there's going to have to be some kind of 100th monkey moment where people are just going to know that, it's like when we're little kids and we put down the dolls and the Hot Wheels toys and we want to start riding dirt bikes and we want to put makeup on, for the girls, they want to put on makeup and,
Yep.
and look all pretty, and it's growing up time. So it's just that complete psychic change. It's like when you start going into recovery meetings, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of, being a drug addict or whatever your addiction is, you have to create a complete psychic change that will just, you know, change your life to the point where you're not even focused on that next, uh, you know, bad run of whatever it is that you're in trouble with. Whether it's basically people are addicted to themselves, I think. That the device, the drug, or the drink, or the partner, or the whatever, is just the device. We're victims of ourselves, and if you don't get the memo, you'll self-destruct. So I think you're going to see a lot of aha moments, and you're going to see a lot of death in the next 6 months. You're either going to wake up or you're not going to make it, because the energies. I mean, we just talked about the Schumann resonance before we had our discussion here, and we both agreed that we're just absolutely being painted white right now with divine cosmic energy. I mean, it can't get any stronger or purer. I mean, it was up to what, 60, 70 was the resonance, and it was peaking right then.
Mm.
So when it becomes like that at all the time, if you can't hold 60, 70 hertz of energy day in and day out, well, you're going to have to go find somewhere else to live.
Yeah, I think to hold the higher frequency, we have to let go of a lot of the lower
You
trauma
know, the,
we
the
hold
it
on to.
it's just, the nasty is going to be beaten out of us whether we want it to or not. You can't take baggage and nasty to the next density. It won't work.
Yeah,
You know,
I
I
guess.
mean, you can only put so much luggage in your overhead bin when you get on the airplane. You know,
But I think a lot of people are assuming that, when we have this financial reset, they'll just buy themselves a plane and they won't have to follow any rules. It's like this, so that horse in that paddock that they keep referring to in sessions, where we've been so controlled. As soon as the gates are open, what is that horse going to do? Is that horse going to buck and just destroy everything in its path, or is it still going to be afraid to take that step out of that controlled situation?
it's going to take steps out of its controlled situation and go get itself in trouble, and then come back and go stand in the fenced end area because it knew it was safe before. So they'll go out and light their hair on fire and get in trouble, and then wise up.
God, it's going to be so interesting.
If they don't listen to counseling, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of counseling with all this intended wealth to everybody. You're going to have a complete psychic change in order to handle unlimited abundance, because we've just been so used to scarcity our whole life.
Yeah. Do you think people are going to see this as opportunity to do their inner work and to be able to help themselves, or is it just going to be quick fixes of materialism? How is materialism even going to be sustainable when, if everyone's got this wealth, will they want to do the jobs that create the materialistic uh, items for us to purchase?
you know, this kind of goes back to that Star Trek saying, to boldly go where no man's gone before. I mean, I don't know how people are going to, what the final result is. I'm just praying that, there's divine providence here, that, the whole place doesn't get lit up on its ear. You know, I think everybody, has chosen their path. I mean, I'm no rich guy, but I have abundance all the time. It flows into my life when I ask for it, because I don't ask for stupid shit. You know,
Moral of the
I,
story: don't ask for stupid shit. I love it. Well, that's I want to ask for shit. because I think a lot of people do want uh, the outcomes of the Ferrari or the mansion, or to have a bigger mindset, or to be like super spiritual. They can connect in. They all want these amazing, great end results, but not that many people seem to want to do the work to be able to get to truly own that and value that. I mean, if you get given something without working hard for it, you don't really appreciate it.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of peer pressure with the new way of doing things. In other words, you know how the peer pressure was so heavy last year at this time to put on a mask and wear a mask, and we're all going to have to do this to get through this, and blah blah blah. There was a lot of peer pressure with wearing a mask. I think we'll see a lot of peer pressure with doing the right thing. I think doing the right thing will become the new peer pressure.
But who's going to determine what the right thing is? I mean, I think.
Well, the children will. The children will call out the older people, say, "Hey, what's your problem here?" They'll just have, these, like your little ones. They are so wired. I just seeing them on the screen the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
I looked at your children. I said, those kids are wired like a Macy's Christmas tree.
Yeah, but they would still, if they're going to peer pressure us into their way of life, we're going to be having dessert for dinner, and they're still a little bit self-absorbed, and I hope that there are some grounded people to peer pressure us into the good.
Well, I just mean as far as our sixth sense, the transparency,
Yeah.
that the lying and the cheating and all of the lower based frequencies that people live in won't even be able to be accessed anymore.
Because fear is a huge, big problem. So when we all have this financial abundance, or this financial reset, a lot of fear for a lot of people would go regarding the money. But can we sort of foresee any problems, how society would be when there is no stress of money? Ideally, we were supposed to be also getting the med beds, so there would be no stress of the health. Is that what do you feel like is happening for you regarding the med beds?
Yeah, I agree that that the healing is going to come before the money. So if you can heal people, well, I think even what comes before the healing is going to be the broadcast. I think you're going to have some kind of broadcast, then you're going to have healing, and then you're going to have a slow trickle of abundance. So people, will understand it. You're not going to need money, to pay off medical bills if you've just gone into a med bed, and now you're, younger, healthier, and more, have a better attitude, if they're going to be able to heal. I heard there's 3 different types of those med beds. There's one for the mental, there's one for the physical, and there's one for your emotional or something like that. So they
love that. I didn't know that. I haven't asked about that. I haven't heard about that in sessions, which comes first. And that makes a lot of sense, to heal before giving people, potentially, a lot of trouble with abundance.
I think the military is going to roll those med beds out to these football stadiums around the country, at least here. And I'm sure you guys have, big sports arenas down there as well. And they're just going to heal people right there in those big sports arenas, and then just line them up and say, bring them over neighborhood at a time, or go by age or something, the oldest first. I don't know. I'm sure that'll probably be the big news after, they get the initial broadcast out of the way as to, how things are going to be going now that, the mainstream media has been complicit in all of this. That the mainstream media was given certain news items to broadcast by the military, and they didn't do it.
No.
That was about the one about the people being arrested and the kids there at Washington, D.C. in the tunnels under the White House.
Did not know that. Did you see yesterday that a building uh, was collapsed? It looked like demolition.
Was it from snow? I saw a building collapse from too much snow.
No, was it like I don't want to. I'll have to show you the video of it.
Yeah.
It looked like a demo. I don't know. I don't know if it was a big, long building, tall building too, and it just looked like. So I didn't see snow. Anyway, okay. Well, we can talk about that later. But
Yeah.
okay, so the military told the mainstream media to show
To
some.
broadcast certain news events. I think it pertained to the children being rescued in DC and for the arrests that were going on. The Pentagon issued a news statement, and it was a complete global, they were globally complicit. All news agencies around the planet refused to publish this information. So,
but yet, didn't we hear information about the Pentagon admitting that they were deconstructing a spacecraft?
yeah, there may have been some. I may have run across something about that. Yeah, with NASA and stuff like that. I don't know. It may have. I didn't catch it.
Seems like it's all distraction. Whatever you can hear in the mainstream media, I think it's being distracted. I heard yesterday that Bill Gates supposedly had bought Telegram, but I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, and I heard that you know who Rush Limbaugh is. He was a political conservative. He had a radio talk show. He was on radio here for, oh God, probably 30 years maybe or more. But he had passed away. He's big in the US. But there's a rumor going around that he was Jim Morrison of the Doors.
Oh,
And that's very interesting because they look spitting image of each other.
wow.
The resemblance is just like Dr. Fauci and Mother Teresa. They got the same nose.
Well, that family, so you'd expect that they would look very similar.
Yeah. So I just found that interesting. But these movie stars and these big profile people, when they say they've died, I question that now, especially after Elvis. He lived for all those years, and all the conspiracy theorists, were all pushing that for all those years, and everybody said they were nuts, and they were right. He lived as a street musician in Nashville, and he went by the name of Jesse, and he had a couple of FBI guys that tailed him all the time to make sure nothing happened to him.
Why did he fake his own death?
Well, because he was sick and tired of getting, the vampires were just climbing up his ass back in the day, when he and Priscilla and, they wanted him to do all this stuff. And I'm sure they probably wanted him to go to one of those baby eating parties, and Elvis just finally went to Richard Nixon and said, Dick, you got to help me out here, bro. I want to get out of the action here. And Nixon said, okay, we'll put you in the witness protection program, and your name is now Jesse. So that was that.
Why hasn't the government been able to do anything about the bigger issues? I guess. Do you think that there is like a government from the reptilians that talk to the human governments? What do you think is happening there?
Well, I read there's a really good book. It's on, God, I can't think of the name. It's an online book service, and I think it's free. Can't remember which one. And I read this book. It was awesome. And one of the chapters in this book I read, it was about how early the U.S. got into the flying saucer business and all that stuff. It got back into World War I stuff. It was great. But anyway, one of the portions of the book talked about a Pleiadian ambassador just manifesting in Gerald Ford's Oval Office when he was president of the United States. a guy did this Pleiadian just blew right past the Secret Service, and I guess scared the shit out of Ford.
Yeah. Yeah, our bodies are not used to. Our minds think we can totally handle it, and we'll be like really cool hanging out with some other beings. But the reality is, our bodies will literally poop itself in fear of having a close encounter, because our bodies are to protect us from anything foreign. So it's very interesting. It's distinctual. It's a reaction that our bodies will have.
Yeah, that event or that shift or the flash or whatever you want to call it, that is going to be some shit show. I'll tell you what. If it's going to be like a Chinese fire drill if they're pulling people off the planet. On that one particular day, the ones that can't hold the energy. From what you've said in those past sessions.
Yeah, it seems like people won't necessarily, like, if you were staying on the old Earth, you would maybe not see the light flash. It's more like the individual beings that have been taken off Earth, they will see the light, because you're not going to heaven. You are you're being absorbed by very high frequency energy to go onto ships, which I know sounds really woo-woo, but that's how you see the flash. And so the solar flash is supposed to be, you are seeing the light from the ships, like the Palladian ships are just high frequency white bright light. It's not physical.
Yeah, it's just whistling so fast it looks like mist. I see those ships here every now and then when we get a storm. I saw one the other day. I think it was last week. We had a rainstorm come through, and there was a ship sitting up there in them. It was similar to that. I saved a picture. I don't know. I saw one on the internet. Somebody had posted. I think it was. Do you ever go to Terra Incognito?
No,
Terra Incognito. He talks to some guy by the name of, or some being by the name of Thor, and he's pretty interesting. He posts some stuff every every week or so. He usually throws something up there, but he had some really nice cloud ship pictures that I downloaded them. So and I save them, for reference. So when I'm outside, when we have a storm, and being so close to the Nevada test site up here, with all the crazy toys they have up there, I'm only like 90 miles from there. So
I do want to say, in some Dolores Cannon's books, they were talking about how the military were using this technology that they may have borrowed from some of the beings to figure out how to move, like sort of, like Scotty beaming out kind of moving stuff. So they moved a Navy ship, something huge, and they moved it from one place to another place. They were successful, had no freaking clue what they were doing. It's the Philadelphia Project. So
yeah, the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah, that's it. And so, I mean, the gruesome details of when the ship re-emerged, and apparently that it's still going, isn't it? Like, it's still moving in and out of dimensions. They haven't stopped it. It's still bouncing.
I tell you what, we got some of their real cast off toys, and we haven't done well with them.
Well, I think learn not to play with stuff we don't know, because
leave the chemistry set away. Leave the chemistry set back in the closet, you guys.
Yeah. Well, as soon as we discovered the atom technology power, the nuclear atom weaponry, we got their attention quite quickly.
Yeah, and you know what a lot of that underground testing was used for was to make dumbs so they could eat babies.
Ugh.
I know. That's, all that underground nuclear testing didn't go to waste. It made big holes in the ground, and they used them.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what do you reckon about this weather? Your country looks like it's been slammed. What's happening?
Oh, Texas, poor Texas, they've been running their mouth to whoever, I guess Biden's, fake team or whatever. And they've been pushing the secession uh, button, I guess, is if you want to call it that. But they're hell bent on getting out of the United States of America. They're going to be their own country, and they got a double dose of that weather warfare. Is what happened. They sent all that Arctic, blast weather down to Texas and wiped out their grid system, I guess. And you know what else is being made down there are those med beds.
Oh my God.
They're making those med beds right there at the Tesla plant. That new Tesla truck plant is not. They're not making trucks there. They're making med beds, and those what do you call it? Those new scalar free energy devices. Those Tesla coils that are supposed to go on top of the 5G towers. All those 5G towers are getting slated to have those Tesla coils on them. So
Oh,
we get that free energy,
cool.
scalar energy.
So
And
I did hear that the new capital of America, which was going to be the sort of headquarters for all of the new peer pressure for how humanity should be living, shall we say, was supposed to be in Texas, right? So they wanted to be able to govern from there. Is that right?
the government moved a lot of its facilities to Colorado back in the 1980s. Just in case Washington D.C. ever had some kind of a big flood event, or a tsunami, and the infrastructure was wiped out, being that D.C. is pretty close to the Atlantic Ocean. So a lot of that was all moved inland in case the planet ever experienced another, Noah event type flood. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not in a couple of locations, maybe North Texas and maybe some of it in Colorado, but you really need to centrally locate it instead of putting it at one end. And it really needs to be brought down to size. There's too much overburden on the budget.
I was hearing that the looking glass technology that was being heavily used and relied upon, they all could not see beyond last December. And every which way, they tried to find different solutions moving forward. They were showing pretty drastic situations, which was in Dolores's books as well, about how the shifting of the lands were quite dramatic, and that she refers to it as a new Earth. And I mean, America's like barely even existing land-wise because the shift of all the water and the masses. I mean, I think New Zealand and Australia is the only countries, plus Japan, that has got more land than they currently do. But
Right.
the
I've seen those maps before. Yeah, that's after whatever, next scrubbing event happens, if what they said down there in Uluru, if the planet gets a wash, rinse, repeat 3 times, hopefully everybody's off the planet when that happens, you know.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's really, I mean, we hear so much from sessions about how they perceive what's going on, and then we are still here living that, seeing it all unfold. It's quite a lot to try and piece together puzzle wise what's happening, what's purposeful, what's giving us more opportunities to learn and grow from. I mean, there's so much going on. Like, forget TV. There's
Yeah.
constantly entertainment value in doing sessions like this and finding out so much more, and also just sharing each other's information. And it's humanity. I think the military knows so much and they do so much, and yet they're all contracted to not say jack shit to us. And we're just silly civilians that not allowed to even know the truth. And I think we're so damn exhausted from not being told the truth of what other humans know.
Well, yeah, it's like having having a past relationship with somebody that's not sincere in the relationship. It's like, I have an old girlfriend that, keeps coming home late in her little black dress, and, her makeup's all over her face and she's got spots on the dress. And I ask her where she's been, and she says, the library. It's like, how many times does it take for you to get it that, you know, you're nothing more than a bologna sandwich to these people. We're homo sushi, we're not homo sapiens.
Are
you
you
know
referring to the military as being little hussies in black dresses coming home and not telling us the full truth?
yeah, exactly. It's everything's been compromised, and hopefully, that what's running the show now, I mean, since the first of the year, or if you want to go back to December 21st, when we had the last cyclical shift, so to speak. I think, the planet did make a fairly significant shift on the 21st of December this year, because things have certainly turned upside down, more so than they were last year, in my opinion. I mean, bad behavior seems to be the in thing now, you
Mm,
know?
totally.
So,
Yeah, the peer pressure of yelling at people to put masks on is so obnoxious. I mean, for the love of common sense, you know, like I don't know how these people who are addicted to the TV can follow all the nonsense. It seems so contradictory. The virus, the rules, the regulations. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious now. In one of the sessions we've had recently, they were sort of saying, could we be compassionate to the people who need to be asleep? Because they're really struggling, because it's so obvious even to them now that they're being triggered nearly awake.
yeah, it's just, you don't know whether to shit or wind your watch anymore when you talk to people. you know I mean, thank God I have my empathic skills. I can feel my way into most situations, and I can, put in some little nice, easy way of, working my way into a conversation to see how awake someone is. you know I mean, if you can give them a little teaser and then they start unloading on you, then you got a live one. I mean, when they unload, it's like, oh, did you hear about blah blah blah? Then you got a live one. But um,
Well,
when you have the other side of the coin with, you know, put your mask on, you're gonna kill us all. It's like, you ain't saying nothing to those people, you
so
know.
true. Yeah. They must live in so much fear. It must be, what are
Well,
you?
it's another dimension, Joanne. They're in low 3 and we're in upper 3, bouncing into 4.
Mm. Well, yeah, I mean, it does feel like we're definitely in different realities. That's for sure, when people are paranoid. I just think um, what, when you're in fear, what that manifests in the body, you're just constantly in that fright, and as a flight and fright, you're just producing so much really full on anxiety chemicals in your body. Can't even speak right now what it is, but it's so ugh, full on.
Well, these people, they're just not going to make it. People with lower based frequencies and bad energies, they're just going to go away, you
Well,
know.
but then in sessions, when we ask about that sleepy husband who's, a brick, we ask about this because, the beautiful wives are, so attuned to the world and all this sort of stuff. And so, they do care about, their very heavy husbands who are, beyond beyond reach. And in the sessions, they say to us, oh, he's an advanced being. He's playing this role just for the shits and giggles of it, to help you strengthen yourself and empower yourself. And he's definitely going to the new earth. He is, he's already graduated 3D and 5D, and together on the new earth, you're going to be doing X, Y, and Z. And I just think, how do you you can't read a book by its cover when they just seem like such blessed labeling right now morons.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying, or sleepyheads or whatever you want to call them. But it just, again, it goes back to that perfect storm moment. Not every tree blossoms on the 21st of March, for us in the Northern Hemisphere. For you guys, it's, what, the 21st of October or whatever, September, when the first of spring is. So everybody's blossom day isn't going to be the same. But, it's like also making microwave popcorn. You hear a few kernels at first, and then it gets busy, and then it gets crazy busy, and then there's the laggers, the last few kernels that finish off the bag of popcorn. So I think we're just in the early stages still of the bag of popcorn being popped as far as conscious awareness of people. That we haven't gone through any of the nasty stuff as far as the public's concerned. And that's going to be a major light bulb moment. And I don't think we're going to have too much civil unrest over that, because I think people are going to shit themselves so bad we're going to run out of toilet paper again.
I think
I
humanity
mean,
is put into the microwave. If you were going to talk about being popcorn, I think once those lockdowns happened last year, I think we were all put in that little pressure cooker oven, and then the buttons and the power really intensified onto us to actually think, what on earth? How have we got? Because no one that I know of ever really truly believed in the virus, or that they tapped into hearing about it, but it was so scary for them to just buy into it, even though their intuition was just like, this cannot be real. So it really made people flip.
but you got to remember how powerful the TVs are as far as the flicker rate, the way it catches your brain waves and your eyes and they got us, right nailed down to the crumb as to how to make us react. That's one thing they're not lacking, is how to make us react. And they did that with everybody a year ago.
But I think the calling that is, they've done the cried wolf too many times now.
Oh, I agree.
To try and do a second, worse, deadlier virus strain from all these other different countries. I mean, come on, like, who at this point is still believing in it? And I think you can only watch enough TV, I think, of the same drama to just be fed up of it. I remember, watching every little minute I could of 9/11, and watching and be addicted to it. And it got to the point where my body was exhausted from watching the same information. I don't know how long it took me, but
oh, I know.
Like, you just get to that point where you just need a break from it, and then you can get back to that normalcy of disconnecting. And I think, it's been nearly a year now. Who's still hooked up to watching that TV?
Yeah, I don't know. There isn't much on there that interests me, but people are definitely creatures of habit. We're habitual creatures, and we have our way of doing things, and we don't want to be upset. That just, especially the older we get, and America's full of old people now. That the boomer generation is my age, and there's a lot of us. There's probably 25, 30 million of us.
Do you feel like the boomers are the more able to be fooled, or do you feel like they're more able to have intuition, or is it a mix?
Well, I guess to each his own. It just depends on the level of mind control that you had to endure over your life. I think I moved out of Southern California at the age of 35 and moved out here to the Grand Canyon, with my new wife at the time. And, we had a great life, and it's because of our surroundings. We were down at the river or at the lake or up in the mountains, or, running around in the old gold mines, or, just doing stuff outdoors. I think has really saved my life and my mind control, because I've always been able as a child, I grew up in Southern California at the beach as an only child, and I had to occupy my own time. So I was always very creative. We could make forts and go to the beach and, do all that stuff and be connected. Whereas people today, they're more connected to the AI. So, if you're having a lifestyle that's connected to the AI, you're probably not going to make ascension. You know, if you have a lifestyle that's more organic, I think your chances are better of moving on to the next level.
Yeah, well, I guess time will tell, right? Like, I haven't had that many experiences hearing about people staying on the old earth in sessions. We've heard that they need to, and that they, the reasons why they have to experience that. Um, yeah, it's such a fascinating thing. And I find, I bet you every person that's staying on the old earth, there is a different reason why. So it's so hard not to generalize, but sometimes I do. But um, when we're talking about physical shifts to the new earth, to the old earth, I feel like the people who need to go will go regardless of whether they look like they're awake or not. But for your um, I don't know, as a belief system, for your point of view, we're just going to have more separation between being afraid of the virus and then it not being, because talk to me about how you feel like everything is going to shift. You don't think it's going to?
Yeah, it's already shifting. I mean, we're in the middle of a shift, in my opinion, because it's a shift of AI and organic. Those that want the AI and the mask and the virus and the cure or whatever the hell they're pumping into your divine body, I don't know what the hell it is, and I'm not going near it. I'm glad I'm done working, so I don't have to tolerate that stuff anymore. But yeah, it's just going to be a bigger and bigger and bigger division.
It was
And
interesting to hear them saying that part of the vaccine was going to upgrade people's DNA, that they needed that vaccine to be able to help them be pushed into, because we thought, oh gosh, DNA altering vaccine, that sounds like fun. And kind of instantly thought it was going to be super bad. But then what we've heard in a session is that it's actually going to upgrade people who are still refusing to have been upgraded beforehand energetically.
yeah, I was given a complete package, so I don't think I need any upgrades from any weird scientists from Wuhan, China.
Well, these are the people that are still refusing to wake up who should be, because I think a lot of people wanted the opportunity to wake up naturally, because it seems like no one wants someone to, think about actually like physically waking up in the morning. You either have an alarm clock that is really soft and nice and it gently wakes you up. You don't want someone shaking the shit out of you saying, wake up, you're full, the house is on fire, blah, 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 blah,
Right, right.
blah, 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 blah. Biden being a clone. Like, no one wants to be woken up like that. So we want all nice, gentle, but and on our own control and on our own, on our own terms. Because for ego's sake, no one wants to be told, wake up, you're retarded with your mindset of X, Y, and Z. Here's the big truth.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody, the way I wake up is, I just come out of my sleep state, my eyes wake up, and it's like it's 3 a.m. I got to do something. I'm like the weirdest person, and I was perfect for my job because I wanted to get into the stores to do my work before the store opened,
But
so.
they're saying now though, and they have all the times that I've been doing, these sessions, which has been over a year now, that they will, soon, maybe a year and 2 years, I can't remember. Anyway, that 8 hours sleep is the worst for us ever. That 8 hours is not it dumbs us down. It's too much sleep. And, apparently, when the doctors ask you what sort of sleep patterns you have, and if you don't have 8 hours sleep, oh, something else is wrong with you. And so
Right.
we have this nervous worry, am I getting enough sleep? Because it's so important. And the reality is 8 hours dumbs us down. We need, ideally, it's around sort of 5 hours of sleeping is the optimal. But a lot of people still have that belief system, 8 is perfect.
Yeah, I agree. It is too much. I'm about a 5 or 6 hour a night person,
Mm.
and I'm good to go. When I had heavy days at work, I would sleep 8 or 10 hours, but my body was so exhausted, I needed it.
Yeah, yeah. And like if you are doing physical work during the day, absolutely, you do need more rest to, build back the body. But if you're just having an average job where you're sitting on your butt like me all the time, then, you probably don't need as much sleep because I'm not energetically requiring, that catch up. I should actually be using that extra time to be moving my body.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, and it bounces. I just let my body dictate what it needs. If my body's hungry, I feed it. If my body's sleepy, I sleep. If my body needs sunshine, I go outside and stand in the sunlight.
Mm.
I'm blessed and grateful that the good Lord has given me that, that the discernment to know. And it didn't come naturally. This is 20 years of work for me, 21 years now,
Yeah.
as far as, finding the light, so to speak. Um,
But
in the
you found it within yourself versus gurus that have taught you how to think and feel, with the spiritual world. Like you've really had to train yourself to know yourself.
Yeah, it's know yourself or die, motherfucker.
And
Seriously, Joanne, that's no bullshit. It's you figure it out or you're gonna die, pal. So I had to, my nose was in the corner.
yeah, yeah. You should really like create t-shirts because I think you've got a real talent for some really awesome statements.
Yeah,
But
I know. I got a real wicked way with words sometimes, but hey, it gets the point across.
it does very effectively, and that's why I say a t-shirt would be fantastic.
Yeah.
People probably wouldn't bother you about masks if you were wearing one of your t-shirts, just saying. um yeah, do you find that
I
sometimes
got a great T-shirt. I'll get you one. I'll get one, and I'll get you one. You. What do you want? A small or a medium?
it's fine. Yeah, I don't think the kindy mums would appreciate me spreading.
No, that you don't even know what it's going to say yet.
I might just wear it inside.
No, the shirt's going to say "Divine Sovereign Badass."
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's what we are. That's what our incarnation is down here on this blue marble.
Yeah, yeah.
Because snowflakes don't make it.
Well, we've got to be careful that we don't label people as those dense rocks when sometimes they're very useful. They are sleeping so they can bring a lot of energy into the planet and not get distracted because it's hard being awake and still getting distracted. So I feel for a lot of people who have listened, who have tried to connect into spirituality and have been misguided through the egos of other beings. And I mean, it's everywhere. It's not just the spirituality world or the new age world, but I feel like I wanted to get back to talking about food. Salt,
Yeah.
salt versus sugar. One of them has been told that it's bad for us, and the other one is in everything. And so the realization of how powerful and important salt is for our lives has tried to be villainized, and it's actually the hero in the story, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, out here in the Mojave Desert, it's mostly alkaline soil, and it's very good for our bodies. You know, I love going to the salt lick every now and then. I got to have an old bag of salty potato chips every now and then, or I just don't feel human.
Yeah, that's another amazing t-shirt I want to see. Well, yeah, I do have the cravings for the good salts too, and I really we've been so lied to, and we've trusted so many professionals, and we honoring our bodies and knowing what we want to eat and need for our bodies is definitely something we can keep moving forward with. So, okay, I'm gonna.
Well, I just want to one mention on the food thing there. My body screams at me. Let me give you an example. I ran out of raw honey. I'm good friends with the guy that's the distributor for the raw honey out here. And my higher self has been screaming at me to call this guy and go get a fresh quart of raw honey. And the honey, not the combs, but the pollen. I buy a big jar of the bee pollen and put a dab of that under my tongue every morning, and that keeps the immune system up for any disease in the local area. So as far as your body should scream at you when it needs something, if you're connected, if you've done your work, you will hear about what you need.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't gone public, but I am sugar free now quite a few weeks, and I
Good for you. Yeah,
feel,
that that stuff is no good. That purified, that sugar cane is no good.
but when you're in the addiction of it, it feels like your friend. But it's I mean, it's incredible. I still feel like I'm a waffling baboon, but I can feel more connected to
And
myself.
how many days are you sugar free now?
I'm probably like nearly 6 weeks.
God, that's great. That's like, not drinking, because alcohol has got a lot of sugar in it too. And that's why people, get addicted to alcohol, is because of that sugar.
Mm,
And the way to get rid of an alcohol addiction is chocolate cake and orange juice for 6 weeks.
really? Wow.
Yeah, you do that for 6 weeks and you'll never want to drink again, because you're tricking the body into giving the sugar that it's addicted to. So you're just tricking it. And then once you're over the addiction of alcohol, then you can go ahead and remove the addiction of that refined sugar,
Mm.
and do that with honey. So every time you want sugar, just take a spoonful of honey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I haven't had any honey either, so I'm trying to keep myself pure from all of the blood sugar stimulants.
Right.
But it's but I'm having these artificial sweeteners that are supposedly not going to screw with that. But just being really mindful of what I'm putting in my body emotionally and physically, and I'm enjoying the differences of it. But I had like a chip the other day that I would eat. I mean, I'm not going to even pretend to be shy about this. I used to eat like a big bag of these these corn chip things. They're disgusting.
Yeah.
So good.
It's the seasoning that we get addicted to. That
Oh,
seasoning just, it's unbelievable. And then, all that GMO corn that we eat is horrible.
so I had one the other day, just because I'm clearing out my cupboards and throwing out all this crap, right? And I feel terrible because I'm giving a lot of the sugars and stuff to our worm farm. So like, God bless, they're not having such a good, fantastic time. The worms are,
Yeah.
they're probably missing the vegetables. But so I'm not trying not to throw it out. I'm trying to reuse it, but then I also feel like I'm poisoning them. So, I mean, that's on my conscience. So that's why I'm probably sharing this with everyone. But I had one of the chips yesterday, and oh my God, it was rancidly revolting. And I was like, whoa, like, this huge change of my mindset. Anyway, need,
Yeah, good. That's supposed to happen. That triggered something in your head to stay away from that poison. Now
but
we're growing
my
growing out
mind,
of this.
but in my mind, it's still fantastically everything for me. And then I put it in my mouth. It was like, no, my mind has to catch up with my physical body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, well,
these dark entities and this darkness is still prevalent around here. We're still being taunted. Everybody that says, "Oh, we've won the war and we've kicked their ass," and blah blah blah. I don't think so. I think it's still game on, in my opinion.
But it's the inner work that we haven't done, that we haven't left our own demons behind. We're still holding on to tragedy and trauma and our pasts and haven't been able to unpack it as lessons and purposes. And we're still holding on to a lot of the crap. That's what I think is those negative entities.
Oh yeah, we're so addicted to our old baggage. Everybody is. It's hard to let go of that stuff, if it's been just ingrained in you your whole life, you know.
But
You
it's
don't
not your
go,
identity, it's an experience. It's not your identity. And we must separate
yeah,
ourselves from that.
exactly. Yeah, that's a good answer.
I know so many people that say to me, "Oh, Joe, I've done all of my inner work. I don't have any problems, really." And then they sort of start talking to me about some of the stuff they've supposedly got over. Boy, they're living it like it was yesterday, and they're still so like still have not let any of it go, but they still believe because it's in the past, it doesn't affect them. But as soon as you start talking about it, it's like opening up a can of worms. So like, you can love each other and support each other. We've all gone through stuff, but we have to keep asking ourselves, what was the purpose? What was the lesson? And what is our growth and experience from that? So we can remove ourselves from the trauma of it and unpack it with some common sense and responsibility.
Yeah, critical thinking.
Yeah. And like critical think, but stop freaking guilt tripping yourself over having a human experience. Get over it. Learn from
Well,
it.
yeah, that's moral compass alignment there. If you got to drag around, you're not a complete person unless you have your issues, then your moral compass isn't skewed in properly.
Well, we have to forgive others and we have to forgive ourselves from the past because we're supposed to have learned from it and dealt with it and unpacked it beautifully. And, we're traveling light now, right?
Yeah. So, well, the beat goes on.
Well, owning it, like no one's perfect, and it would be really boring if we were. And we have to love our experiences, because if we don't love them, then we're going to be bitter and twisted about it, and then we're going to hold on to it and love it and set it free.
Exactly. You have to face everything. That's what the acronym for fear is: face everything and recover. Did you ever hear that one?
No.
Yeah, FEAR is face everything and recover.
Oh. And can we add like face your fears, recover from it, and just love yourself for the growth because it hasn't freaking killed you yet.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, how long do you want to stay and sit in your own stink? It's your stink and you own it. How long do you want to sit in it?
Well, some people still want to blame others for that, and and be disempowered because that I don't know why I'm like getting this visual of someone like just sitting in a room by themselves farting away and complaining about the smell, and yet it's really them.
Yeah,
They're consuming whatever it is that's saying hello to them again. We call them in our house ghost poo.
yeah. Outhouse goalpost.
Anyway, okay, this is just this needs to end because we're just talking about potty humor now. So thank you once again for having a conversation with me and just talking about the world and just
Yeah,
gasping.
we're all going to do just fine. You just got to hang in there and, you know, do the day-to-day things. Whatever's facing you, just worry about that. Don't worry about what's coming up next week because next week ain't here yet.
Yeah, and definitely don't go into the past if it's going to trigger you into something that's not helpful.
Oh, and I wanted one more little quick thing, and then we'll hang up the deal here. But something I've been keying in on lately, you may want to pass along to your people, is overachievement is as bad as underachievement. Trying to make up for lost time that you missed because you were fucking off or whatever it was you were doing. you know, this trying to make up for it. So now I got to do overachievement. No, you just stay the course, ride the rail, and find the flow. Because overachievement will get you killed just as fast as underachievement will get you dead, you know.
Wow, sobering thought. Okay,
You
but
got
it's
to find that middle path.
yeah. I just realized we were talking before about, oh, this was another conversation I had with someone else earlier, was when we assume what others are expecting from us, then we can't be our true authentic selves, because we are then playing to the audience of what we think they want from us.
Right.
And this was really what they were showing with some spiritual guru influences in the past, that you lose yourself and
Yeah,
your
being a people
realness.
pleaser, people
Yeah,
pleasing.
yeah. So, I mean, Lex will think about, have we been doing too much people pleasing and not self-respecting and growing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's, you know, one of the things they do in the recovery movement is, you know, at the end of the day when you're laying down and getting ready to go off to sleep, you know, you review your day's events, you know, and just be, whether they're good events, bad events, scared the shit out of you or whatever, be grateful for the events that took place in your life that day because they were there for a reason. So embrace them and let them go, and then, you know, start with a clean sheet of paper the next day. Don't start in with yesterday's news.
Yeah, I love that. Treat every day like a new, brand new gift.
Clean sheet of paper every day.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
So, all right, we'll end on that. Clean sheet of paper, Joanne.
got it.